Okay, good evening and welcome to all my fellow mates, my colleagues, my family, my friends. Welcome you to this webinar or masterclass on integrating innovative teaching strategies in the high school biology classroom. I hope you would find this session insightful and you'll also gain some new insights about innovative strategies. Let's quickly dive in. So I'll be your host for today. I'm Soundarya, and I basically am a lecturer at Narayana PU College in Bangalore, India. I've been an alumni of multiple institutes in India and colleges like Amity University, University of Delhi, Biocon Academy, as well as Keck Graduate Institute US. I have a teaching experience of about 10 years in various schools and colleges, as well as I have an industrial experience in biopharma, about 1.5 years, and I have a research experience about 2 years. My area of research was pulmonary pathology. And apart from, of course, the academic interests that I have many other interests like singing, reading, interacting with my students, exploring the technology, traveling, and so on. So I generally have a lot of other interests as well. All right. So before we start the session, I would expect all my attendees kindly be respectful during the presentation. Kindly keep your mics on mute unless you're asked to. Please be aware of your camera and kindly keep it on the switch off mode. In case you wish to ask anything, you can always post on the chat and we can have a discussion in the end of the session. Please help me create a positive environment. And whenever I ask you to, let's say, reply or chat, kindly respond your queries or anything on the chat. Thank you. Okay, so after this class, all of you would be able to identify innovative pedagogical strategies that we can use in the high school biology classrooms, understand what all methodologies we can use to implement those strategies, and apply these strategies in your classroom by using them in your lesson plans, as well as integrate technology as a very crucial part of your lessons and teachings, because I think in this present world, definitely technology plays a very important role. Takeaways, I hope once you finish the session, you would be able to remember that diverse and innovative strategies create a dynamic environment for our students, especially in the classrooms. Alternative and innovative teaching strategies are very crucial in developing critical thinking, scientific inquiry, and academic curiosity, as well as use of technology, as I mentioned earlier, is going to enhance our understanding of our students' learning, as well as help them solve complex concepts. All right, so let me begin with a quick icebreaker for all of you, and I'm going to show you 3 pictures. Let me see if you are asked to, let's say, learn about sandwich. Okay, let me just show you these 3 images. Now, the first image, suppose you want to tell them about sandwich. How would you tell your students? Just show them a picture. That is the first one, and tell them this is a sandwich. Or the second picture says, you make them eat. Okay, you make them eat, get them the taste, and then you tell about the sandwich. But the sandwich has been prepared from someone else. And the third option is you give them all the ingredients and you ask them to prepare the sandwich and then eat it. So I just ask all my participants to kindly comment on the chat that which of these 3 methods would you like to explain the concept of sandwich with, and which would be your interest. So kindly comment on the chat as to is it 1, 2, or 3. The first one is a picture. The second one would be making them eat it, but preparation is done by someone else. And the third one would be giving them all the ingredients and let them prepare on their own. So can you please comment on your chat? Yeah, please. Yeah, I can see. Great. Okay, the third option. Great. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Esa. Thank you, Bhuvneshwari, ma'am. Thank you, Abida. Yeah, let them prepare. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, thank you, Banumasi. Yeah, thanks. Great, great. So I can notice that all of you want let them prepare. Thank you, Ritu. Yes. So I think everyone agrees with the fact that we all would like to be a part of the journey to learn something rather than just being, a passive, you can say, consumers of the food. So here, I think definitely the third one tells us that experience along with both experience with respect to making it and eating it would something that we all want our students to go through. So the same, now keeping this example in mind, let me move on to my next slide, which says that why should we innovate in biology? So there are three or key important aspects that I would like all my fellow teachers to kindly go through. When we teach in class, the first thing we want our students to do is definitely engage. We want them to be actively involved. That is very, very crucial. If they're not actively involved, just passively listening, then that's not something that we want in our classes. Whatever they learn, they must be able to relate that to real life. So relevance, for example, if I'm teaching about environment and I do not tell them what is the application of the concept onto the environment, then there's no use of reading it. So definitely they must be aware of this. Third, once they understand the concept and they relate to it, they should be able to retain this for their future. So retention. So engagement, relevance, and retention are the three key concepts, I would say, which we should focus during our classrooms, and using this, all our strategies must be based on. Now, moving on, these three concepts which I just mentioned can be fostered if we try to inculcate these 21st century pedagogical skills. Let me just quickly read you through this definition. 21st century pedagogical skills refers to a broad set of knowledge, skills, work habits, and character traits that are believed by educators, school reformers, college professors, employers, and others to be critically important to success in this world. So now exactly what is this? For this, I have a small video for all of you. Kindly go through the video and then we would discuss in more detail about these skills. I'm sure you would have seen the video and got a rough idea about what the 21st century classroom should look like and what are the skills we are expecting our students to basically acquire in this particular zone, in this particular generation. So when technology is all over around us, we must make sure that in our classrooms, we are integrating different kinds of skills that they are able to acquire right from their school time. And once they reach their real life, let's say once they grow older and they acquire a career, they're able to use all those skills. So when I talk about 21st century skills, what are those skills? The first one is something called learning skills. Which are the learning skills? So we have collaboration, critical thinking, creativity and innovation, and communication. These are the 4 C's or the 4 pillars of what we call as learning in the classroom. Can we foster this is our question. Next, What are the literacy skills we want them to acquire? Information, media, and technology literacy. They must be aware of these basic things. So earlier it was only information literacy. Now media and technology literacy is also added to all this. The third one that we have is, of course, acquiring life skills. What are the life skills? Flexibility and adaptability, leadership and responsibility, initiative and self-direction, social and cross-cultural interaction. That means our students are no longer going to be just the passive listeners of a classroom, but going to be actively acquiring all these skills as they come across the class. So what is our ultimate aim as a teacher? Our ultimate aim as a teacher is to develop students as responsible citizens of tomorrow. What kind of skills they require for their daily living is something that we must inculcate in them. So suppose if I'm talking about, let us say, pollution or population, can they connect or can they find solutions to all these issues right in their school time? Can we give them that opportunity to find out something for that right in their school level? Maybe in a small scale, but definitely thought provoking. And skills that help them succeed later in their career, family, as well as life, and create self-awareness. So when we talk about self-awareness, means basically getting to know what we are good at. If we are good at handling people, if we are good at handling, let's say, situations right at the school level, we can give them all these opportunities so that they can come up in life. Keeping this concept in mind, that how we have to foster 21st century skills, now, I would like all of you to participate in a small poll along with me, wherein I'm going to just ask you what kind of strategies do you already imply in your class. I'm sure all the teachers who have joined with me are already working towards this goal. I think all of you are actually innovating a lot in your classroom. So, would you actually like to go for lecture method or discussion method or activity based learning, or some of you go for collaborative learning, some of you go into project based learning? So what kind of a strategy do you use in your classroom to inculcate these 21st century skills? Great, I'm actually seeing the poll results. Great, great. I think many of you are already using activity based learning. Wow, nice. Collaborative learning, excellent. Lecture method, nice. Great, great. Oh, nice. So I think I can see all the teachers who have associated with me today. I think they're already actively doing their part in cultivating these 21st century skills. Excellent. Okay. Okay, there are a few more who have to answer. Okay, project based, nice. I can see some of them are into project based learning as well. Great. So what I can see through the poll is that many of you are already into somewhere into collaborative learning, activity-based learning, or project-based learning, while some of you are following the lecture-based method as well. Great. I'm really happy for the poll. All right. So I think you can all see the results on your screen. Collaborative learning is something most of my learners are using, most of my participants are using here. Activity-based is the next one. Project-based is the next one. And the lecture method is what we can see being the least. And of course, some of them are not following the discussion method. That's great. So I think all the participants are already aware of these kind of methods that we can use in the classroom. You're already using many of these methods like project-based, activity-based in your classroom to foster the 21st century skills. Now, in my presentation, I have included a few more strategies that you can always use, and I would emphasize on examples basically on biology, but of course you can extrapolate those examples to any of the field that you are into. So let's see some of the strategies which I'm going to discuss with all of you is going to be problem solving, inquiry-based learning, role of technology in the classroom, differentiation, and some other strategies. So let's start with the first one, which is the problem solving. Now, when I say problem solving, I'm trying to tell you that there is a problem and someone has to find a solution to it. Now, how do we use this method in our classroom? So here I have put across a few steps that we can use in our classrooms to inculcate this kind of problem solving ability in the students. So let's assume a situation where we have a village and the village is just next to a landfill site. Now imagine how much of the problem the villagers would be facing, because the landfill site will be having a lot of stench. It will be releasing a lot of pollutants in the water. They will be exposed to so many diseases. Now, imagine this is the case I give to my students. Now, before I give the case to the students, I, as a teacher, need to articulate what I want my students to learn from this case. So let us say I want the students to identify the various kinds of disposal methods that are applicable in our society right now. Second, I want them to know what are the impacts of these methods on their health, on the humans. And based on this, I'm going to give them the case study. So first, I articulate all the learning outcomes that I want to achieve in my children. And second, I'm going to provide them with the case which I just mentioned. Once I provide the case, I'm going to ask them a few questions, or they are going to activate their own knowledge, which they already know, let's say, about the methods of waste disposal, or what are the different kinds of waste, how should they be discarded, what would be the impact of these waste on their health, and what could be the impact if it is not disposed in the right manner. So they already are, let's say, aware of some basic knowledge. Using this knowledge, we are going to divide the students into small groups, or they can also work independently. So we group them based on, let's say, some of them can go and survey the villagers. Some of them can have a statistics on how this was done earlier. And some of them can start thinking about how we can join the two together. Once we have made the group, we are going to brainstorm ideas. What are the ideas here? How can we solve this issue? Can we keep the villagers out of the landfill site, or can we shift the landfill site, or should we find out any new bioremediation methods where we can use some bacteria to digest the waste? So this could be some of the solutions which the students would be brainstorming. Now, how can we put this into our class, into assessments? We can ask all the groups to present their work. So basically, they're going to present their work as an assessment. So they can give an oral presentation, they can give a written presentation, they can conduct a survey, they can submit the survey report to me. So that way we can, as teachers, not only make them aware about environmental issues, but also make them a part of it. And eventually what they have done at the end, they have solved a problem which could have been a big disaster. Now, at the school level, we can do this maybe in our locality. We can send them to our locality and find out some solutions are already being done, or they can also talk to some experts and find out a solution. So this can be one method where we give them a case and they are going to find a solution. So let me just give you all of you one small activity here. I would request all of you to kindly go through these two cases, and just once you finish reading it, I'm going to give you some questions to answer on them. I give you a minute to read through the cases. Okay. Those who have gone through the cases, I would like all of you to tell me, among case 1 and case 2, in which of the cases do you think students are more engaged, in case 1 or case 2? You can answer in the chat. Yeah, case 2. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, case 2. Right. Okay. Let me ask another question. Which of these classes is more teacher-oriented? Case 1 or case 2? Which is more teacher-oriented? Case 1 or case 2? Yeah. When I say teacher-oriented, I am referring to the fact that teacher is the only one who's instructing and students are just passive listeners. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dina ma'am. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Banu. Thank you, Sunita. Yeah, that's case 1. I do agree. Let's go to the third question. Which of these classes do you feel, or which of these cases do you feel is inculcating more problem solving and critical thinking? Case 1 or case 2? Yes, case 2. Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you, Sunita. Thank you, Dina ma'am. Yes, Mark. Yes, Asha, thank you. So you can see here that I just gave you a simple activity of having two cases here, and looking at those two cases, you were able to answer some of my questions. We can do the same thing in our classroom where we provide them with some cases. The students go through the cases, they go across the solutions and the problems, and they find finally a proper solution for treating that problem. So this can be a simple activity that we can do in our classrooms to inculcate problem solving skill within them. So now, which are the areas in biology where I felt that you can, or as teachers, we all can use this problem solving method? So we all in our biology classrooms teach about something called as case studies. Let's say we talk about diseases. We talk about diseases for which we do not have much cure available or treatment available. So we can give some kind of random reports to them, or if any of the members of our students or their parents have given a recent test, we can ask them to guess those tests. Students can analyze those tests and finally come to a conclusion or a solution by diagnosing the problem and giving them a treatment. So this can be one problem solving. Or in the newspapers, every day we get to see so many kind of cases where public waste disposal has not been properly dealt with, or people are, let us say, having issues with, let's say, the parking issues, or some kind of, let's say, problems which they face in a day-to-day life. We can give these newspaper articles to them and ask them, if they were, let's say, a municipal authority, what measures would they take to solve this problem? So that can be another case study. Or as biology students, we as teachers, we can also give them something called signaling pathways. Signaling pathways are basically different, you can say, processes which occur in our body due to which some disease might occur. So at which particular pathway, if I put the drug, can I solve the disease? Can I cure the disease? So this could be another problem and a case, and then a solver, a solution for that. So we can use problem solving in multiple areas in biology. If you want to experiment, any of these methods can be used. Yeah, I think some of them have commented. Interesting. Yeah, signaling pathways. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yes. So now let's move on from problem solving into another interesting strategy, which is inquiry-based learning. But before I get into this, let me just trigger our childhood, curiosities. As a kid, I'm sure all of us would have asked these questions innumerable times. Why leaf is green in color? How kids are born? Why sky is blue? Why don't we live in forests anymore? I'm sure many more questions we would have continuously asked to our parents, to our teachers, and so many of them. We also would have tried to find the answers. I'm sure many of us would have tried to find answers in various ways, either by going to a library, maybe if we were like, let's say in our college or in our, high school, we would have tried to find out the answer for that, or would have asked our teacher, the best source at that time, or we would have done some experiment. Maybe the experiment would have gone wrong, but still we would have tried, right? Or we would have searched the internet if internet facility was available to most of us, or we might have asked any expert. For example, when I was working in a research lab, I used to ask my research guide about any of my these doubts. So I'm sure all of us would have, yeah, grandparents. I'm sure. Thank you, Manu. Yes, so we would have asked so many people about these doubts, and some of them would have been cleared, some of them would have just remained as curiosity. Now, this curiosity, which is there inherent in all of us, is what we need to arouse in students. We want our students to basically start asking questions and then finding answers to those questions. This is where we bring in the concept of scientific inquiry. So inquiry is something that we all are born with, but when we try to find answers to that, then we enter the zone of scientific inquiry. So let's see what are the basic steps that a teacher would need to do when we talk about inquiry based classrooms. So the first one as is asking the question. So how do you frame the question? So again, let me give you an example here. Let us say we have a country or a city where there is extreme famine or there's extreme drought. And now in that particular area, it is very difficult to grow any kind of crops or basically make food available. Now, biotechnology has given us so much of hope in growing plants which require very little water and still can grow to a great extent. So now the question which we can pose here is, can we use biotechnological crops to get rid of problems like famine and drought? Can this be a solution? Now, this is a question I've asked to my students. Now, this question can further lead to a lot of discussion among our students so the first step is, of course, finding out the question that we're all wanting to find out. The second one is the students should discuss with us, or we can even invite an expert for them to find out what all possible methods they can basically do, or the data which is available about that particular place, about that crops which we can grow there, the kind of food they would prefer to eat. All this we can do one kind of a data analysis. Once we are done with that, we can start questioning which kind of crops will be more suitable to the soil there. Will this crop be able to actually grow there? Or if I give this crop, is it sufficient to give a balanced diet to the people there? Will they get all the nutrition of, let's say, protein, carbohydrates, fats in those crops, whatever we are going to grow there? These are some of the questions we can ask, and then we can find solutions to them. Finally, the last step is designing solutions of all these questions that we have just posed. So if you notice here, we have found out a question, we have found out the data, what all are required to answer the question. Then we have further done analysis and evaluation to find out which is better, which crops are better, which method is better, what kind of soil will be there, and then we have come to a conclusion. So when we go through the inquiry based learning, we foster critical thinking in our students. We make them think about such kind of drastic situations which may be there in our world or can happen in their own city if proper things are not taken care of. Investigation, definitely. Now they have tried to find out what kind of crops you can grow, how we can grow. This is investigation. Then they have analyzed among the crops, they found which is best, which is not. That analysis and evaluation. So they come across real life situations and then they basically find a solution. Yes. So this kind of an inquiry that we are, yes, it can, excellent, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, Dina, ma'am. Yes, this is what we need to inculcate in them. They can become kind of Shakespeare's and investigate. Sorry, I'm saying Sherlock Holmes, sorry, not Shakespeare, Sherlock Holmes, and try to investigate something very, very unique in their day-to-day lives. And yet the solutions will be very, very useful to them as well as in their future. So this is where we can bring in inquiry-based learning in the classrooms. So I have some areas in biology where we can use these kind of inquiry-based class. First one, we can go into the life of Mendel. I hope everyone is aware of the fact that Mendel is considered to be, John Mendel is considered to be the father of genetics. He was the first one who gave the idea of how characters or traits that we all have right now, our facial features, everything, pass on from one generation to the other. And he worked on something called as a pea plant, our normal pea that we use at home. So why did he choose that? What if we would have chosen some other animal or plant? What would have been the results? Would they be same? Would they be different? This is a question. Would the genetics would have changed? Would have used something else? Second can be hydroponics. Now, hydroponics are coming up like anything. They are basically now the way how we grow crops without soil. So is soil-less culture good, bad? What is the advantage? What is the disadvantage? We can ask our students to find out. Hybrid fuels. Now, hybrid fuels are coming up in a great way due to the existing fossil fuels becoming highly, something that we all do not want to use because of the high amount of pollution they create. But when we create hybrid fuels, are we going to increase more number of vehicles in the world? Is that good? Or is converting into hybrid fuels good? So again, a question for them to think about. Reversal of aging. Many companies like Google have already invested money on finding out whether they can reverse this process of aging. Can we remain young throughout our lives? Wow, that is a great thing. But is it ethical? Is it correct? So again, a question for them to ask. Revival of extinct animals. Just a few weeks back, I read an article that animals like mammoth, which were there during the Ice Age, animals like thylacine, which have become extinct in Australia, they are planning to revive them back using their DNA. Is it correct? Because right now, the kind of ecosystem that we have, is it correct to introduce them into this ecosystem? All these are burning questions which we can foster into our minds of the students and ask them to find out some answers to it by researching upon it. Now, again, a small activity for all of you. I'm sure you can just pick out the child in you and give me any question that comes to your mind which you would have liked to investigate. So any burning question that you want to investigate right now, you can just give me in the chat any question or any concept that you wanted to, yeah, investigate. Yes. Yeah, hydroponics. I think, Dina ma'am, thank you. Yes. Any question that you felt we should have done or we should have found out, you can just comment on the chat. Exactly. Thank you, Ritu ma'am. Yeah. So how can we save land in India from drought? Excellent. Yeah, that's a very good inquiry-based question. Yes, we can ask students to find out how we can save water, maybe to prevent these kind of situations. Great, great. And anybody else can also join. You can give some more questions. Anything that came into your mind as a child? Yes, waste disposal. Yes, that's a big problem. Yes, I'm sure everyone wants an answer for that. So we can ask our students to do something research and find out about waste disposal. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sunita and Ritu. I think it's great. Yeah. Excellent question on biotechnology. Yes. Overcome famine. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Yes. Sustainability. Yes. Sustainability is the important question. How to breathe clean air. Yes. In our capital city, Delhi, we are facing a lot of pollution issues. So how can we come over it? Yes, into AI from 20, yes, 20 years from now, what is its pros and cons? Excellent. Thank you, Mariam ma'am. I think, oh, yes, Rama ma'am. Thank you. Climatic changes and global warming. Excellent. So I think all these questions, I think so many of us have so many questions that we want to ask. I think students can be a very good method to find out the answer for that. Okay, let's go to the next one. So now we move on from these strategies to something called technology based strategies. I'm sure just now Mariam ma'am mentioned about artificial intelligence. So yes, now whatever we do, this has already penetrated our lives. I think we have to live with it. So artificial intelligence, how can we constructively use in our classrooms? I'm going to show you a few methods using all these strategies like artificial intelligence, simulations, and some games, how we are going to use them in our classrooms and make them interesting. So let's quickly see artificial intelligence. So I'm sure all of you are aware of these different sources or you can say sites where we can go and ask any question from the AI and they can help us solve the answers. So we have Chat GPT, we have Gemini, we have Copilot, we have Surasa. All these are excellent sources where we can find out some of our very difficult questions answers. So what is the use of AI? It can help us create new ideas, something that we can't probably think. Maybe we can have a much more holistic perspective of a particular concept. We can design activities using them. We can design content using all this AI. We can also have a framework for our lesson plans using AI. Once we use AI, the best part is most of these AI based platforms give us a solution within minutes. So we can have time to pursue many other hobbies of our choice. So AI is now going to be the next thing and already penetrated all our zones. So to show you one of the interesting things that I usually do for my classrooms using AI is something that we can go for like this. Let me just show you how I've used it. So let me take you to the side. So here I have used Chat GPT to basically explain a concept called as the urine formation in kidney. And for high school learners, generally what I've noticed in all these years is this is one of the topic which is usually very difficult for them to understand in one go because the processes are something that we can't make them imagine. Something like glomerular filtration. That means blood passing through your kidney in a section called as glomeruli, which is basically a component of a nephron. So this is difficult for them to imagine. So how can I make this process very, very easy? So for this, what we do, we take something called as a prompt. Now, what is a prompt? A prompt is a set of words that we design. Basically, we give an instruction to the AI platform that what we want it from, what we want it to give us back. So like in this case, what I've done, I have told the Chat GPT that you are a good storyteller. You are an expert biologist. Your job is to explain difficult biology concepts using stories. And I have given which story I want them to find. So I have told them I want the mechanism of urine concentration for grade 11 using a simple story. And I have given a very interesting story here for Arabian Nights. I mean, I want the characters to be from Arabian Nights. I'm sure all of us during our childhood would have seen this cartoon called Aladdin. And these characters we all relate to. Why can't we use a setup like this where we make our characters, that is probably our organs, as characters and use them in our story? And I have asked them to cover these topics. So if you notice here now, what are the different things it has suggested me? It has given me so many, such a big option for me as a story. So what is a story? It's a story of a desert. In the desert, we have a noble merchant called Al Kidney. Now here the kidney is the main protagonist, right? So that's how it is. And then we move on to the steps like the treasure vault, which is glomerular filtration. And then we have the kingdom's river bank. The river bank is something like our blood, where things go back during the absorption process. So that is how it is related here. And then you can see the secret passage. Basically, what we want to send out of the kingdom is something the same thing we want to do in our body. What we want to send out into the urine is what we have as tubular secretion. So if you notice here that Chat GPT has actually given me a very nice idea to use my tough concepts as a story and explain to them in a beautiful, I guess, a narrative manner. So this makes the topic interesting. They can understand all the concepts. They can connect these concepts to their daily life as well as understand it. So this is one of the great methods we all can use in our classrooms by generating very innovative prompts, by giving the prompts and then asking the AI to generate something interesting for us. Same way, I have one more interesting, you can say, platform which I want to share with you. I think Surasa has given us a great platform and to basically search upon so many different kinds of AI tools. If you notice here, you have so many AI tools like lesson plan generator, rubrics generator, quiz generator, handout generator. So many options they have given for us. So how do you go about generating any of this? I will just show you one of them. So let us see, we have taken lesson plan generator. I can give the grade for which I'm planning the lesson. Let's say in this case, 11th grade, the curriculum can be CBSE, IGCSE, or whatever we teach. Subject in my case has to be biology. Class, 60 minutes, 45 minutes, up to your choice. Chapter, whatever you design, whatever you're going to teach, okay? Then what is the book you follow? So mostly in India, we follow a book called NCRT, and based on NCRT, so we can go ahead with that. Country, as per your choice. If you are from India, then India. If you're UAE or US, up to you. And Bloom's taxonomy level. Now, what is Bloom's taxonomy? It basically tells you at what understanding and thinking level we need to design our classes. Whether their students are at remember level or understanding level or application level or analysis level, evaluation level or creative level. So based on that, we can design our lesson plans. And are we going to teach that topic for multiple classes? Then we can give the number of lessons here. So using the Surasa platform, I have already generated a few lesson plans. Let me show you what I have used in my classrooms. So you can see here, I have generated this for criteria for classifying living organisms. So I have used that for 11th grade. CBSE is the curriculum I teach. Then the class duration is for 45 minutes. I have used the Bloom's taxonomy level, that is called as apply, analyze, and understand, because I want them to go from the lower ones to the higher ones. So when we come down here, you can see the Surasa platform itself has given me all these options. It has given me the learning objectives. It has given me the materials I need, the lesson outline, as well as the assessment I need to conduct and how to judge my students based on these rubrics. So everything is designed and given to me within a span of 1 to 2 minutes. And I just have to implicate this in my classroom. So this saves a lot of time of the teachers in sitting and preparing, class, the lessons and activities which we need to implement there. Instead of that, we can use these kind of tools to make our learning and classrooms much more easier. So let me get back to my presentation. So I hope you just got a rough idea of how we can use the AI tools to basically make our learning more interesting. So we can take that help. Of course, the final implementation has to be done by the teachers only. But the preparation can become much more easier when we use AI tools. Yeah. So I think someone has commented. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Yes, that's a great tool. Thank you, Banu. Yes. So now we come down to the second type of application of technology, which is simulation. So when I say simulate, generally it means we actuate the real environment. So can we do that in our classrooms? Can we just bring about something which is more real to make them understand what is happening in the biological world? At which level can we do? So we can help them test and observe some of the results. Let us say on seed germination, if you want to find out how does seed germination happen, what are the stages of seed germination, we can ask them to find out through a simulation. We can find out at molecular levels. Now, what is molecular level? Something which we can't even see with a normal light microscope. It's a very, very small zone that we are entering into. At this zone, it is difficult for a student to imagine. Processes like transcription, translation, which occur at the molecular level, cannot be just imagined or explained on a board. We need a kind of a environment which makes them understand how a DNA would copy into an RNA, how an RNA would instruct a protein, how your cell is doing all the communication, like how we do communication with each other. Cells also do a lot of communication. How do they do that? At the molecular level, can we show that? That can be done through simulations. Same way, manipulate variables. Now, what do you mean by manipulation of variables? Now, in science, we have lot of ifs and buts that we can keep changing to get different results. So can we show that in our classrooms? Like I mentioned about the seed germination. Effect of pH, effect of temperature, effect of soil, effect of, let's say, water availability. All these can be parameters or variables that can change. Can we show that in our classroom using simulations? And individually, students can be given access to do that. So to help you understand how this is done, again, I have a very interesting website which I explored recently. It's called Lab Exchange. Let me take you to that website. It's basically a website which provides you innumerable simulations, innumerable videos to go through, and we can use them in the classroom. If your class is technologically enabled, even students can download this or maybe access this website and straight away go to the particular link that you're going to share with them, and they can find out themselves. So here I have taken an example of what we call as gene linkage simulation. If I enter into this, just observe here. Now, this is a concept. I will just give a brief about this, that this is regarding how genes are placed on a chromosome in our cells. Okay, so as per the concept of a very great scientist called Morgan, Thomas Morgan, he actually told that based on the distance between the two genes, for example, in this case, you can see the red color and the yellow color are quite far apart. Based on the distance between the two genes, we can conclude that how these genes move to our next generation, whether we are going to pass the same genes to our next generation or not. So what we can do, we can take a simulation like this. Just let me show you. So here, what we do, we basically keep changing the distances between the genes. So basically, like if I take a gene distance of about 10, these is usually measured in a scale called centimorgan. Okay, it is not centimeters or millimeters, it's measured on centimorgan. So if you take a distance of about 10 and you run the experiment, what do you notice? When you basically mate this Drosophila or this fruit fly with this fruit fly, with respect to these two genes, you notice that the parental genotypes are many. But when I change the distance between the two genes, let me again run the experiment and show you. You can see here when the distance between the two genes increases, the yellow and the red is what you have to observe here. You can notice that the genes are not exactly similar to the parents. We can have some new varieties of genes coming into the children. Now, this is a concept we usually teach through the classroom, like how we usually do crosses and work out there. If we can show these through simulations, I'm sure students will be able to understand that when we do breeding experiments, hybridization experiments, how can we conclude results about this using this lab exchange as a method. So lab exchange is one of the great tools. Yeah, thank you, Reena ma'am, where we can use these simulations to show our students how these concepts work at the molecular level, something we can't even think of making them imagine. So simulations are a great way of basically promoting biology, especially for biology, and that too at the microscopic level. I think one of the great tools that we can use in the classroom. Okay, now I come down to the third area of technology where we have already been using it is the games. Now, games is I'm sure many of you would be using websites like Nearpod, Kahoot, Surasa. Just now I had shown you the quiz tools there. But I also use a lot of offline gaming in my class. Like I can usually involve them using these games. And one of the very common ones which I do is dump charades. You know why? Because in biology, we have a lot of these elongated words like microsporogenesis, spermatogenesis, oogenesis. These words sound very, very difficult to our students. Many of these words have Greek or Latin origin, which even makes these words even more difficult. So how can we break these words into very simple methods and make them learn? So I've given you a very simple example here. Like I have taken a word called carcinogen, which basically means cancer-causing substances. If I want them to remember this word in a very simple way, we can just ask a few students, we can tell them this word on their ear, and they can enact to their friends. So what they do, they just show a car, show maybe ice, just to see the word see, and then say no with the head. So students will say no, and finally show a dress they are wearing. So if you notice here, I have split the word carcinogen into car, see, no, and gen. So this helps them remember the larger words and makes it easier for the students to remember. Now I have a small activity for all of you. I'm going to give you two words here. You can just keep your creative skills open, penicillium and Saccharomyces. You can design any of your choice words into this. As in, if you want Saccharomyces, how you want to split them? Penicillium, how you want to split them? You can give me your idea of how you would split this word into very simple day-to-day life words and make them remember. So I think you can use the chat option to give me any of this. You can use any of these words, whichever you wish to do. And you can give me a simple way of segregating this into smaller bits, maybe penicillium or Saccharomyces. Yeah, anyone. Yeah, you can just use your imagination or creativity, how you can cut these words into small bits. So sac, row, my, ses, something like that. Or however you wish, you can split the way you wish to. You can just comment on the chat. Yeah, I think some of you are thinking how to do that, I'm sure. Yeah, I just anyone can just split these words into small words like the way. Okay, I get that. Shweta ma'am is giving me the answer. Pen, C, and then showing an injection. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Great, ma'am. Thank you. Pen, ice, ill, yum. Oh, great, great. Sack and mice. Wow, lovely. I think many of you have great ideas. Salini ma'am, thank you. Mariam ma'am, thank you. I think you all have great ideas. Pen, pencil plus I plus yum. Yeah, great. So I think you have made, yeah, my work very easy. So these words are seeming very, very elongated can be made very interesting by breaking them down into some very, very simple words. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to one of the other strategies which I would like to discuss, which is differentiation. Now, before I read out the definition for you, I would like all of you to just observe this beautiful picture here of a bouquet. So when I look at the bouquet, the first thing which attracts me is the color, right? The different colors and each one being a different flower. Now, when I go deep inside and compare this, what do I notice? That the bouquet is a single thing, but actually made up of many different flowers of different colors, different shapes, different fragrances. And if I go further deep inside, I would notice that the time taken for each of these flowers to bloom would also not be the same. I'm sure many of this would be blooming at different levels, at different stages. So now let us think about this bouquet as our class. Our class is like a bouquet of students. And these students, all of them are different yet together in one class. We have to appreciate these individual differences and take them ahead. So that is where comes the concept of differentiation. So when we talk about differentiation, it can be eclectic mix of methods combined with wisdom, logic, sound knowledge, psychology, and artistry. So basically, at what levels can we bring about this differentiation between our class? So let us go into the methods into which we can differentiate. So the first one, how we can differentiate among our learners, is based on the content. And within the content, we can either differentiate based on their readiness, their learning styles, or their interests. Let me take one example. I generally, as a student, used to enjoy reading books with a lot of illustrations and not much texts. So definitely in my class also, I'm sure there are many students who enjoy reading books with more images than texts. So I can provide them illustrative books. Some of my students would like to read, let us say, books with more texts or case studies. So I can provide them more case studies. Some of my students won't like to read at all. They just want to listen. So I can give them recordings. I can give them my class recordings. I can give them audio recordings to understand and listen and then come to the class. So at the content level, based on their interests, whatever they like to do, how they like to learn, I can give them this variety. Second, during the class, what can I do? That is the process. During the class, how can I make this interesting? So now I can, first of all, take a small, let us say a survey in my class. What is their preferable learning styles? Some of them may say, I have a visual learning style. That is, I like to see and learn. Some of them may say, I have a audio, you can say the auditory type of learning style. Some of them can say they have a kinesthetic type of learning style where they perform and learn. So based on that, what do? I divide my class into groups. Each group I provide, let us say one group I provide a video, one group I provide an audio book, the third group I provide, let us say, an experimental table, and the fourth group I give some, let us say, some newspaper articles, or maybe I give them some content to read. Now, each group is analyzing the same concept, but in different ways. So at the class level, I can make them learn the same concept as per their learning style. The third way how we can differentiate between them is the product level. Product means once they have done the learning, I have to assess them. How do I assess them? At the assessment level, also I can make variation. How? Let us say some of my students are only at the basic level of understanding. So the readiness levels is something they're slow learners. So they have understood only the remember or the understanding level. they can only understand the basics of a concept and not the application of a concept. So their questions can be connected to basics. Second group may be a better levels of learners. So I can give them something called application based questions. The third group may actually not want to do either. They want to do a model and show me and then present the model. Okay, fine. That could be an assessment. So product level differentiation requires us assessing them at various levels of their, let us say, readiness, how they are prepared to present, how they are prepared to answer these questions of what they have already learned. And the last one is environment. Now, I'm sure when we were children, many of us would have had different ways of learning. Some of us would have locked us in a room and ourselves in a room and study. Some of us would have switched off the fan, study in a very deep, dense environment. Some of us would have roamed around the whole classroom and studied, or maybe the whole room in our home and then studied. Some of us would like to go to a forest or probably a garden and sit there and study in a peace. So we have different ways of learning and where we find our learning to be the best. So environment plays a very big role in making us more interactive and more engaged in what we are doing. So we can provide these small changes in our classroom by giving them small spaces or allowing them to maybe sit in a corridor or sit in an open space or go to the library and study wherever they wish to. This is the differentiation we can do at the level of environment. Now, keeping this knowledge in mind, I have again two classrooms for you, a small activity for everyone. You just go through these classrooms and let me know which of these classroom is differentiated based on content, which of these classroom is differentiated based on process, or which of them is based on product. So you can just go through these two classrooms, you can read through it, and you can tell me which among these. Classroom 1 is based on which kind of differentiation and classroom 2 is based on which kind of differentiation. You can comment your answers on the chat. Oh, Nicolette, great. That penicillium, super. Yeah, you can just take your time in reading the activity. So which of these classrooms, let me repeat my question, is based on differentiation using product, which is based on process, or if at all content? If you've understood the concept, you can tell me which among the two is differentiated. Yes. Oh, yes. I think some of them have started answering. Yeah, classroom 1 is process. Yes, great, Dina ma'am. Okay. The classroom 2 is product. Excellent, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Others can also put in their inputs. So if you notice in the classroom 1, she is doing something in the classroom, right? That is where, what are they learning? And in the classroom 2, the teacher is actually focusing on what are they presenting as a part of assessment. So that way you can differentiate them based on process or product. Great, Ritu ma'am, thank you. It is product, yes. Yes, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I think most of you, I think, understood that the second one is product and the first one is process. Correct. Thank you. Thank you so much. So you can see by using these simple things, we can just give them the variety and make sure that they enjoy the way they like to read the same concept. Okay. So now I just come on to the last few strategies. So we have gone through a few strategies that we can use in our classrooms. And I'm sure many of you are using all of these or some of these. And we have many more to go. So one of the others are field trips, collaborative learning. That is field trips. Basically, we take them to a certain site. Especially we used to do that a lot when we have to collect plant specimens. You take them to the site, collect plant specimens, bring them and study them. Or collaborative learning where we group them into pairs and then ask them to share their ideas about a particular topic. Flipped classrooms where we make the students explain the other students by becoming kind of teachers, and we as teachers we just become the facilitators for them. Demonstration, I think one of the great ways to represent some of the concepts in, I think, all kinds of sciences. Experimentation in lab. Yes, definitely we can take them to a lab, ask them to experiment something and find out the results and give it us back. So all these are the other methods which we can make use of in our classrooms and make sure they learn from these. Why do we need all these now? Finally, we need them because we need to make a change in our assessment pattern. So when we need to bring about this change, definitely we need to introduce these strategies in our class. We need to change the classroom dynamics. It need not be all the time passive. Same, and we also need to inculcate all this in our curriculum. Make sure it is highly inclusive. It includes all kinds of children, and we as teachers cater to all of them. So now I have three questions for all of you. You can just read through the questions and you can just type in your answers in the chat. What do you think is the primary purpose of differentiation in biology classroom? What is the key benefit of using inquiry-based learning in the high school biology classroom? You can go through the options as well. You can put your answers in the comment as 1A, 2B, up to you, whatever you feel. And which of the following is an example of technology-based methodology in teaching biology? You can just go through the questions and answer me on the chat. Yeah, I can see already some of the answers coming up. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So, yes, Amohan, yeah. First is, okay, I think they're still answering. Great. Okay, one is B. Excellent, ma'am. Thank you, Salmi, ma'am. Yeah, Dina, ma'am, 1B. Yes. What is the answer for 2? I think great. Most of you got it. The first one is B. Excellent. What is the second one? Great. Second one is C. Excellent. Thank you, Dina, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rama, ma'am. It's 1B. Correct. 2C. Yeah, correct. Thank you. Thank you, Manu. Yeah. What could be the answer for the third one? 3B. Thank you, Shweta ma'am. Yes. Simulations. Yes. Understanding 3D models. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, yes. Most of you guessed it correctly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for all your responses. So quickly, I'll just display the answers as well. As you all correctly pointed out, 1B, 2C, and 3B. So I would just like to conclude here. What was the need for all these strategies and why should we have this? Because we want to break the monotony of the classroom. We want children to feel that the classroom is a equally happy place as probably what they would like to be in a gaming zone or anywhere of their choice. So that's something we require in our classrooms. Inclusive classroom, irrespective of the backgrounds of the children, we should make them a part of our classrooms. Student engagement. We should make sure all students are engaged, participative in the classroom in some or the other way. Learner-oriented classrooms. Yes, we have to overcome this concept that only teacher is the one who's going to narrate everything and others are only going to listen. No, it's no longer that. Students and teachers are co-participants in the class. Empathy for students' behavior. Why a certain student is behaving in a certain way, why he or she is not interested in a particular classroom, we need to find out. If we can go at the student level, definitely students will also become more enthusiastic about our subject. So I have some questions for all of you. Does a teacher need to use all these methods at the same time? Absolutely not. You need not use them all these strategies. You can use as per the need of your learners. Whenever your learners are learning, I'm sure, yes, correct. I do agree. Definitely, Rama ma'am. This requires a lot of time. That's why what we can do, we can use these methods occasionally, at least let's say once in a week or let's say twice in a week. If we can use, we can break the monotony and we can make sure our students are brought back to the subject. Are these strategies applicable to all the topics? Not necessary. You can design based on which subject you feel. For environment, you can use problem solving. Let's say for diseases, you can use inquiry. For making something like morphology and anatomy more interesting, you can use differentiation. So it's up to you which topic you want to use which strategy for. Do these strategies prepare them for standardized test? Yes, standardized tests are something like, definitely we are thinking about, let's say, something like an entrance exam. Definitely not. They don't prepare you for something that we call as the standardized test. But they definitely create curiosity among your learners. And once the curiosity and interest comes, automatically they are forced to come into that subject and learn more about it. They themselves will become inquiry-based students who want to learn about the subject. What role does teacher education play in this? So I'm sure right now you all are a part of me with me, a part, I mean, part of the session. It is a kind of a session which makes you aware about all these different strategies are already there being used by numerous teachers, and more number of teachers should be using these. So this is a way how we can actually say teacher education. If we can have workshops which are basically demonstrating these techniques to our teachers, I'm sure many of our teachers would love to use these strategies in our classrooms. So I think we come back to where we started. I hope you all identified various kind of pedagogical strategies. You understood the different methods, how we can use them in our classrooms, how we can apply them in our classrooms, and finally, how we can use technology to basically make our classrooms extremely interesting. Yes, I hope you are I'm going to just go through these takeaways, and I hope you have gained something from this session. These are some of the works which I have used during my presentation. Of course, if anyone wants to use them, I can definitely share with them. This is our portal on the Instagram, Surasa portal. Anyone wants to log in and follow, you can definitely go ahead. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can definitely post on the chat. I would be happy to answer them. Yeah. Thank you, Mariam ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. Thank you, Banu ma'am. Thank you so much. I think if you have any questions, you can definitely share. Thank you, Shweta ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Ritu ma'am. Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. Extremely pleased that you enjoyed. Thank you, Bhagya ma'am. Thank you, Esa. Really, thank you. I think I'm very grateful for all of you to have come and participated and given your time for me. Extremely thankful to that. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Oh, thank you, Sunita ma'am. Yes. I think that I'm very glad that you could solve many of your doubts. Thank you, Dina ma'am. Thank you so much. I think I'm extremely thankful again, as I said, to all the participants of this session. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Salini ma'am. Yeah, thank you. I'm happy you found Surasa or Gemini, which is, it's up to you, ma'am. Surasa gives you a plenty of platform to choose, basically, Salini ma'am. Like you can go ahead and probably choose, like you want to design a lesson plan, you want to design a quiz, you want to design an activity. You can separate based on that. Gemini is more of a generalized platform where you have to design the prompt. So Rasa is more applicable to teachers because it gives you the right kind of, the categories in which you have to enter your details and you can design whatever you wish to. But in Gemini, you have to generate the prompt. So that is the only difference I would see. So otherwise, I think for teachers, definitely Surasa is a great platform. Thank you, Rama ma'am. Yeah, Jayashree ma'am. No, I have not done that course. Actually, I'm a student of ITU. I'm doing my MA there. Yeah, thank you, Bhagya ma'am. Thank you, Tanuja ma'am. Thank you all for connecting with me. Thanks. I think someone else is also replying. Thank you, Salini ma'am. Yeah, definitely. I hope. Will we have more? I'm not sure, ma'am. If you require, I can always help you out. Like probably later, you can just connect with me through Surasa. I can help you out in biology. Sure. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Sai sir. Okay, I think. Can you please share the presentation? Sure, Mama. I think I can share with I think the Surasa or the ITU team. I think they would be able to share with you. Hadasha ma'am. I'm sure you should. Sure, Sunita ma'am. Definitely. I think you can contact the team and they can give you my number, or I can share my email ID with you in case you wish to contact. So thank you, Ramama. Okay. Thank you. Sure. I think, okay, so I think here we come to the end of the presentation. And again, I thank all the participants to be along with me for all this while. Thank you so much.